I thought his sister just didn't like me. Turns out she was his fiancée. Yeah, let that sit for a second. All those side eyes at dinner, the weird silences when I walked into a room, the little digs that felt like sugar-coated poison. Not sisterly awkwardness. Jealousy. Because I was the other woman, and I didn't even know it. But let me rewind to when I still thought I was the girlfriend in this story. His name was Naveen. We met at a wedding, my cousin's. He wasn't even a guest, just helping his uncle with catering. But somehow, between past hors d'oeuvres and drunk relatives slow dancing to Eid Sheeran, he found me. He was charming in that quiet, steady kind of way. Smart, soft-spoken, looked directly into your eyes when you talked. We started dating 2 weeks later. And just like that, I fell headfirst into what felt like the healthiest relationship of my adult life. He always remembered my coffee order, opened the car door, asked about my mom. We weren't rushing things, but it was consistent, intentional. That's when he introduced me to his family. And by family, I mean her. He said, my sister is kind of blunt, just ignore her if she's weird at first. And wow, blunt was putting it mildly. From the moment we met, she looked me up and down like I was a clearance rack item. Her handshake, limp, her smile, non-existent. She didn't say, nice to meet you. She said, so, this is her. During dinner, she corrected my pronunciation of a dish she didn't even make. When I complimented their mom's cooking, she said, yeah, you wouldn't know this, but we're kind of traditional about who gets to learn. She called me interesting, like it was an insult. I laughed it off at first. Thought maybe it was cultural, or maybe she was just overly protective of her brother. But then it got weird. Like, too weird. One day I brought Naveen a framed photo of us for his desk. The next time I visited, it was missing. He said he'd taken it to work, but I found it later, face down in a drawer. She accidentally tagged me as guest in a family group photo on Instagram, even though I'd been dating Naveen for almost a year. She referred to me as the American. I'm literally first-gen Korean American and grew up less than 10 miles from her. I told Naveen gently, listen, your sister really doesn't seem to like me. He sighed, kissed my forehead, said, she's intense with everyone, I'll talk to her. Except he didn't. In fact, he started avoiding any conversation about her at all. One time I joked, you sure you're not secretly married to her? And he got really quiet, like I'd said something disgusting. I remember brushing it off, but something about that silence stayed in my chest like static. Still, I kept showing up. Holidays, birthdays, I brought flowers, helped with dishes, laughed at their dad's boring stories about interest rates. But she never warmed up. Never cracked. Always watching me like I was sitting in her chair. And then came the email. I wasn't snooping. I was grabbing my charger from Naveen's laptop bag. His MacBook was open. Mail app still up. One tab labeled Confirmed Final Guest List. Subject line, Final Fitting, Bridal Boutique Reminder. I clicked before my brain could catch up. It was an email from a high-end South Asian bridal salon, sent to both of them. Naveen. And her. Same last name. Shared calendar. And a subject line I will never forget. We're so excited to finalize your look before the engagement ceremony. I remember standing completely still. Like if I didn't move, reality wouldn't either. But the room kept spinning. I opened another email, and another. Save the date mock-ups. Photos from a ring selection appointment. A spreadsheet titled Mehndi Seating Plan, Groom's Side. And then, like a final knife, an RSVP list with me plus Maya, under family attending. I wasn't the girlfriend. I was the cover. A convenient placeholder, while he played fiancé under his family's radar. And her. She wasn't his sister. She was the one he'd already promised forever to. Looking back now, I realize how much effort I put into being liked by a woman who was actively pretending not to be engaged to my boyfriend. I baked her gluten-free muffins when she mentioned once, just once, that wheat made her feel weird. I liked every boring story she posted about her branding clients. I invited her to brunch with my girlfriends. She declined, then made a passive-aggressive story about women who perform friendship for optics. And the wildest part, I blamed myself. I told Kara, my best friend, I don't know, maybe she's just super introverted. Kara looked at me like I just asked if water was racist. Or, she said slowly, maybe she hates you because she thinks you're dating her man. We laughed. I still had no clue. And Naveen, God, he was so good at this. The soft reassurances, the quiet deflections. When I told him his sister made me feel like an outsider, he didn't gaslight me, he romanticized it. She's just different, babe. You're warm, she's guarded. That's why you're good for me. He called me his piece. Said I balanced him out. Held my hand when his mother side-eyed my outfit and whispered, you don't have to change for anyone. Except I was the change. I just didn't know it yet. There were other moments that feel loud now in retrospect. Like the time I asked him if we were moving toward something more serious. Living together, maybe, and he said, you know, I can't do that until my family's fully on board. I thought he meant culturally, like it's complicated, they're traditional. But now I know what he meant. I'm already booked. Or that time, he got super weird when I suggested coming to his cousin's wedding as his date. He said, it's kind of a family-only thing. I said, aren't I basically family at this point? He said nothing. And I took that silence as guilt. But it was strategy. Because in his family, I couldn't be the public date. Not with who he was already promised to. Not with the wedding already on the books, deposits paid, invites printed. I was just the buffer. The emotional placeholder. The warm-up act. And her, the sister. Let's talk about her. She once sat across from me and asked, so, do you see a future with my brother? I said yes. She smiled, tilted her head, and said, good luck with that. I thought she was just being shady. But now, that was territorial. That was a woman protecting her claim, not from a stranger, but from a threat she didn't expect to like her quinoa salad. And the most chilling thing, she knew I didn't know. She watched me show up to birthdays, hold his hand, take pictures, post him, all while knowing that she had the save-the-date printer on speed dial. She let me walk into that house like I belonged there. She let me call her sis. She let me bake those stupid muffins. And she never once broke character. Because the performance was the protection. Because as long as I played clueless girlfriend, they could keep up their secret engagement in private. Family approved, religion aligned, status secured. And I was just the smokescreen. The moment I saw the email, I thought, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe fiancé was a typo. Maybe it was some family friend. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, my stomach already knew. So I did what any emotionally stable person would do in 2025. I opened the shared photo album on his phone while he was in the shower. He never thought I'd look there. And God, what I found. A folder titled K and S Pre-Ceremony. K and S. Not N and S. Because he wasn't the groom. He was the ghost fiancé, the hidden name on the paperwork. Photos. Dozens of them. Of her in lehenga fittings, him trying on sherwani, their mothers holding fabric samples and nodding approvingly. One photo, dated 3 months after we started dating, was captioned, "Final selection for our engagement announcement shoot." I was shaking, not crying, not yet. Just rage. Cold, acid-coated rage curling under my skin. I kept scrolling. There it was. A PDF invite mock-up with watercolor lotuses and gold calligraphy. You are joyfully invited to celebrate the engagement of Naveen and Samira. Samira, the sister. Samira, who didn't like me. Samira, who corrected how I pronounced her own fucking name at dinner. Samira, who once said to me, "You don't really get our culture, you just think it's pretty." Samira was his bride. I snapped, not outwardly, not yet. I screen recorded everything. Saved the PDF to my Google Drive. Airdropped the entire album to myself. And then I waited. Because he walked out of the bathroom like it was any other Sunday. Hair damp in his soft hoodie, smiling. "Want chai?" I said sure, but let's talk while you make it. He didn't sense anything. That's the part that kills me. Because in his mind, I was still in the dark. Still the clueless American girlfriend who'd never questioned the strange family dynamic. He steeped the tea like he had time, like he wasn't seconds away from full nuclear detonation. I waited until he handed me the cup, then I slid my phone across the counter. Nice engagement invite, gold foil, fancy. He froze. Eyes locked on the screen. He didn't even ask how I found it. He just exhaled, like the mask had finally slipped and he didn't have to hold it anymore. "Okay," he said softly, "just listen." Oh, I listened. He started slow, like he was explaining a tax law. His parents had arranged it years ago. It wasn't legal yet, just formal. It was cultural, it was religious. It was expected. He said they didn't want scandal. They didn't want drama. They wanted stability. And I was the unpredictable part. "Dating you was a risk," he said. I blinked. "A risk?" He nodded earnestly. Like he was the victim here, like the story was about his sacrifice. "I didn't know I'd fall for you." That made it worse. Because if he didn't care about me, if I were just a decoy, it would still hurt, but at least it would make sense. But no. He liked me. And he still let it happen. Still let me kiss him, love him, meet his parents. Still let me bake for his bride-to-be. He said, I wanted both worlds. I said, "You mean you wanted two women?" He didn't deny it. He said, "I just needed time to figure it out. But Samira, our families already agreed. It's too late to walk that back without serious fallout." And that's when it clicked. He never planned to choose. He just planned to run the clock on both of us until someone gave up. I looked at him and said, "You didn't just lie, you made me complicit in your lie to her. And worse, you made her complicit in your lie to me." His voice got quiet. "I thought maybe you'd never find out." Like that made it better. And then he said the most insane thing of all. "I told her you were just a friend. You knew that, right? I never introduced you as my girlfriend." And in one sentence, he erased everything. The kisses. The holidays. The road trip to Sedona. The time I held his hand in the ER when he fainted from dehydration. The weekends we spent furniture shopping. Just a friend. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to document. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't block him. Not yet. Because I wasn't interested in closure. I wanted documentation. So while he was in the other room, cooling off, probably calling Samira to reframe the disaster as cultural misunderstanding, I was on my laptop building a folder. Screenshots. Save the dates. The email from the bridal salon. Her Instagram comments under his posts. A screen recording of the shared album. And the real kicker. A voice memo. From me. Narrating every detail of the lie in a calm, steady tone. I titled it, "Welcome to the Family, My Almost-Incest Story." Then I opened TikTok. I didn't cry. I didn't vent. I explained. I said, "Hi, I'm Maya. I've been dating Naveen for almost a year. He told me Samira was his sister. Turns out, she's his fiancée. Their wedding is next month, and here's the seating chart to prove it. I showed everything. Blurred out faces, sure. But not the truth. I ended the video with, "If you think I'm lying, ask Samira why her future husband spent Thanksgiving in my bed." And then I sent the whole thing, folder memo, everything, to a YouTuber I followed named at the wedding wrecker. She's known for exposing shady couples, fake influencers, and cheating scandals that hide behind pastel aesthetics and chai latte filters. Her tagline, "If the wedding's fake, I make it viral." 48 hours later, she posted a reaction titled, "This bride's sister-in-law is actually the side chick." 4 million views in 2 days. Her commentary was ruthless. "So let me get this straight. He introduced his fiancée as his sister to the woman he was actively dating and thought this was sustainable. And he called her a risk. Sir, this isn't love, it's a cultural hostage situation. This is not just gaslighting. This is gaslighting with an RSVP list." The comments, "Nuclear. Run, girl, and sue for emotional fraud. This is like if family drama and a telenovela had a baby and then lied about the paternity. I'd fake a wedding just to invite them both and serve the video as the cake." And then, Samira messaged me. No greeting. Just, "Is this a joke?" I wrote back, "I wish it were." She went quiet, then asked, "Did you know?" I said, "No, I thought you hated me. Now I know you were just engaged to my boyfriend." Then she wrote the one thing that shook me. "He told me you were his cousin." I swear I blacked out for a second. His cousin. He escalated the lie. So I sent her the photos, the texts, the screenshots, and a copy of the voice memo. Her red receipt stayed on. She never replied. But 2 days later, their wedding website was gone. Their registry deleted. Samira archived every photo of him on her feed. And Naveen, he texted me. One line, "You didn't have to ruin everything." I replied, "I didn't ruin it, I just uploaded it." When the adrenaline wore off, the spiral hit. Not immediately. First came the high. The stitches, the duets, the comment sections full of strangers calling me brave, savage, iconic. People reposted my video to Reddit, Twitter, Instagram. Influencers were DMing me to collab. Someone asked if I'd sell merch. And then slowly, the backlash started. Why humiliate them like that? You could have just walked away. Typical American overreaction. You were the side piece and didn't even know, embarrassing. And my personal favorite. So, you mad his arranged marriage didn't include you? Cool. Nothing like getting slut-shamed and colonialized in the same breath. But the worst weren't the trolls. It was the people I knew. Coworkers suddenly unavailable for lunch. A girl I'd considered a close friend texted me. Just wondering if that video was necessary. You kind of blew up a whole family. I didn't reply. Because what do you say? Sorry I told the truth. Sorry I didn't stay in the role they cast me in, quiet, cute, disposable. I sat with that silence for 2 days. Alone. Paranoid. Starting to believe the narrative I had just escaped. Maybe I was the chaos. Maybe I was the reason they were broken. And then I got a message. From Anya. Samira's cousin. We met once, briefly, at a birthday dinner where she complimented my dress and gave me a weird look like she was trying to place me but couldn't. The message said, "Can I call you? I have something you need to hear." I hesitated, then said yes. Anya's voice was calm, direct. She said, "I knew something was off the moment I met you." I asked why. She said, "Because Samira told everyone you were a family friend who Naveen's parents were trying to help adjust to the culture. She didn't even know you two were dating until your TikTok." I said, so she really didn't know. Anya paused, then said she knew he was seeing someone, but she didn't think you were real. That hit harder than I expected. She thought you were a fling, that you didn't matter, until she saw your face next to his on 3 different holiday photos. I was quiet. Then Anya dropped the final blow. She told her mom she'd tolerate it until the wedding, because once they were married, you'd disappear. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the plan was so boring. Not even scandalous, just typical. Another woman erased by tradition. Anya said, you didn't ruin their wedding, you interrupted a strategy. And that's when it really sunk in. I wasn't just someone he lied to. I was someone they lied about. But this time, the lie had gone viral. 3 days later, Samira asked to meet me. Not text, not call. Face to face. I almost said no. But curiosity won. We met at a neutral place, some overpriced tea cafe where influencers go to cry on their stories. She walked in wearing all black, no makeup, hair up, face bare. We didn't hug, we didn't smile. We just sat. She spoke first. I hated you. Every time you smiled at him, every time you brought something to my house, I wanted to scream. I said nothing. She continued. I thought you knew, thought you were doing it to taunt me, like some flex. I shook my head. I didn't even know you were her. She looked down at her chai. He told me you were lonely, that you were dealing with stuff, that he was just trying to help. I laughed, help by dating me. She looked me dead in the eye. He told me I was the obligation, and you were the addiction. We sat in silence after that. 2 women who'd both been sold the same man, with different disclaimers. I said, so why stay? She said, because when you grow up being told your worth comes from aligning with what's expected, you stop asking what you want. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry you got dragged. She shook her head. No, I'm glad you blew it up. Someone had to. And she stood up. One more thing, she said before walking away. Then she pulled out her phone, opened notes, and showed me a draft caption for what would have been their wedding post. He was my best friend before he was my partner. Now he's my forever. Samirak's Naveen. I said nothing. She hit delete. And walked out. It happened almost a year later. I'd moved on, mostly. New city, new apartment, new boundaries. My video had come and gone. People had stopped tagging me. Naveen had disappeared into the algorithm's forgotten corners. I was teaching yoga classes again, dating someone emotionally available, revolutionary, and had almost convinced myself it was all just a very weird chapter. Until I got a notification. At Samira, Unfiltered just tagged you in a video. I froze. I hadn't heard from her since the cafe. No DMs, no drama, no whispers. Just that quiet, distant understanding we'd shared across a cracked teacup. But now, she posted a video. I clicked. It opened with silence. Just her. Samira, barefaced, no filter, sitting in a sari I hadn't seen before with a plain white wall behind her. She said, everyone knows the story, or at least one version of it. I was the fiancé, she was the other woman. But here's what they got wrong. Cue goosebumps. She went on to tell her side. Not just the wedding drama. The pressure. The expectation. The way she was raised to believe love came after marriage, if at all. She said, he told me she was temporary, that she needed help, that she was unstable, and I believed him, because it was easier to pity another woman than to admit I was being played too. Then came the twist. She pulled out a book. My journal. The one I'd published privately months after everything blew up. Self-published, really, as a kind of emotional purge. Maybe 50 people had downloaded it. And she held it like a manifesto. I read this cover to cover, and for the first time, I didn't feel betrayed by her. I felt freed. She looked straight into the camera and said, "He didn't choose either of us because he never saw us as people. He saw us as strategy." And then, so now we're telling the story together. The video cut. To me. Well, my face. A screenshot from my TikTok. Cut to a new frame, both of us on a Zoom call. Laughing. Samira had reached out to me weeks ago, quietly, through a mutual friend, and asked if I'd record a private conversation. For us, for healing, no pressure. What I didn't know. She'd turned it into something else. Not exploitation, not exposé. Closure. But not the smile and move on kind. The kind where women write the ending together. In the video, she said, "We were raised in different systems, different rules, but both of us were taught to trust a man who spoke with certainty and smiled while lying." And I responded on camera. We weren't rivals, we were rehearsals. The video went nuclear. 4.8 million views in 3 days. Thousands of comments. This is what healing looks like. 2 women burning the script instead of playing the roles. I came for the drama, stayed for the dignity. Samira and Maya need a podcast yesterday. People asked if we were friends now. We're not. We're something else. Co-authors of a truth no one saw coming. Women who were never supposed to meet, let alone team up. Not in his story. But this isn't his story anymore. It's ours. People always want to know the ending. They say, "So, did you ever hear from him again?" And nope. They ask, "Are you and Samira close now?" Also no. Because this isn't a redemption arc. It's a release. And that's what no one tells you. Closure isn't a door slamming. It's a door fatting. Quietly. So quietly you don't realize it's gone until one day, you reach for the handle and it's not there. That was me. For months, I thought I needed answers. An apology. A reason. But reasons don't rewrite reality. I don't care why he lied anymore. I care that I believed him. I care that I made excuses for cold shoulders and sisterly competition. That I baked muffins for a woman who thought I was his cousin. That I second-guessed my own instincts just because someone said, "She's a little intense." I cared that I let myself become digestible. Soft. Low maintenance. Palatable enough to be brought around a family that never knew I was a problem, because they never knew I existed. I used to think the humiliation was the worst part. It's not. The worst part is realizing you were never in the story the way you thought you were. That while you were imagining holidays, futures, last names, he was filling out RSVP cards and hoping you'd stay oblivious just long enough. And then, when I did what no one expected, when I spoke, I became the villain. For telling the truth. For breaking the respectful silence. For not being the bigger person. Let me tell you something. Silence isn't grace. It's camouflage. And I'm done hiding. You know what happened after the video with Samira went viral? Nothing. No lawsuit. No angry texts. No email from him. Just silence. Because for the first time, he was the one who didn't get to speak. And us. We didn't go on tour. We didn't make merch. We didn't milk it. We told the story. Once. Together. Loud enough to be heard, soft enough to be real. And then we moved on. Separate directions. Different lives. But forever connected by the strangest, saddest, most liberating truth I've ever known. That sometimes, your biggest enemy is just the other woman who was lied to in a different tone. We didn't win. We just walked out of a burning building and made sure the door stayed open for the next girl who smells smoke. So no, this story doesn't end with revenge. It ends with resistance, with not letting anyone rewrite your life into their performance. With saying, I know who I am. I know what I lived. And I'm done being quiet about it. Looking back now, maybe I should have said less. Or maybe I finally said enough. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.